is that already like, you know what? It is the Oedipus, right, complex. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of this is going to happen because you've already put it out in the ether that it's going to happen. I think Tua is still a serviceable quarterback. Guy's just been injured. This guy only has maybe 20 starts in his career. That's it. So I think he can be a good quarterback somewhere else. Maybe just not in Miami.
Damn. Ulrich, it's like Groundhog Day. I look at these reports. I said, didn't we do this yesterday? These reports get back to like January, you know?
Didn't we do this all summer? Like literally all summer with different
100%. I was just reading like some old reports here of like all the coaches and Flores there having to talk to Tua and talk to the team back in August and say, hey, Tua's our guy. Ignore all the Watson reports. Like, if you're the Dolphins, you got to proceed with caution here, though. You got to protect. You seriously have to protect all of these picks that you could potentially be giving up. We don't know what's going to happen to this dude.
No kidding, man. I look, regardless of what's going on with Deshaun Watson off the field and the risk that carries, it really just looks like either Miami knows something other people don't, or they just don't care because they have been linked to this guy from the start. I don't know if it's been a case of they're just trying to strike the best deal, but they're not backing down. There's not a case of, okay, yeah, we're scared. This is bad news. And we're done here. They've been in it from the start and they're not going anywhere and they're back. So I don't know, maybe this is like the fifth time lucky here and we actually get a deal, or maybe they finally figured out and they've just said like, okay, we're done with Tua or something, but something's clicked, but they look like they're maybe ready to finally get this national nightmare over with and just, get this trade done. So.
All right, so we'll see what happens with that. Follow DK Live, everybody, which you're watching us on right now. If you're watching us on Twitter, we'll be tweeting out the latest and greatest and interesting reports from this. We'll stick with the quarterbacks here because Thursday Night Football, it'll kick off Week 7 tomorrow night. Like Baker Mayfield's already been ruled out here, dudes. Teddy Bridgewater on the other side. It's the Broncos at the Browns. He's questionable. So we joked a little bit about it this morning. It could be a Case Keenum revenge game here for the Browns, but who are totally beaten up. Like their top 2 running backs are out. OBJ is questionable, I think, Reid, and like there's some offensive linemen who are really hurt. Like, which player do you trust in DFS? Look at the screen here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the red wedding. Like this might be if there's other things that you wanted to do that just never got around to on a Thursday evening, maybe this is the night. Right. Unless you're a Cleveland or Denver fan. No. All kidding aside, I think Cortland Sutton is very interesting. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Cleveland has been bad against alpha receivers, and Sutton is that type of guy. He's a big body. He's at 15K in the captain spot. Like I think his prop is 4.5 catches, guys. And so it doesn't really garner that high upside that you need. But yeah, I think Dearness Johnson has to be in consideration because he's the only healthy and warm body in that backfield. I'm not named Demetric Felton, who doesn't really work out of the backfield. He's done more work in the slot, or he's done the ghost motion where he starts in the backfield and he motions out, where he hasn't really taken a snap from the backfield. I think only 2 so far this season. So I do think Dearness Johnson is also someone that you have to take a look at. He's $4,600 in the flex. If he's getting guys like the lion's share of these carries, if he's getting he got 13 carries, 95 yards and 17 snaps in 2020 against Dallas. If you can get 15 to 16 opportunities at $4,600, he's going to be popular, but that might be the way to go and figure out elsewhere. I mean, Drew Lock, if what's his name can't go, or if Teddy is going to be pulled out midway in the game because of the injuries. I mean, Drew Lock is also someone that you could probably get in there, but you get a 0, but at $6,000 for a QB in a single game showdown, who knows? This one's going to be confusing from the start.
Dude, with Johnson, so he had one game last season, 2020, with more than 10 touches. He did turn that into 13 carries and 95 yards in that contest. Geoff, the quarterback question marks, everyone being banged up. Who does this help? Who does this hurt the most in your eyes?
for DFS, I mean, it makes in a way it makes the quarterbacks more valuable because we're going to have a slow, grinded out game, and the quarterbacks are the ones who touch the ball every game. And in games that are like end up 20-17, sometimes those 10, 12 points from the quarterbacks just become like a necessity because everyone's scoring like 9 points. It does feel kind of like that kind of game. Now, on the other side, the lead running backs here. I mean, Reid mentioned Ernest Johnson. He's not a great talent, but he's certainly capable pass catcher out of the backfield. And then you have, just to make matters even worse, you have like basically a split between Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So, the running backs and the quarterbacks, I think, become more valuable here because we know that's where the touches are going. The receivers in this game are completely boom or bust.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned Donovan Peoples-Jones this morning, starting to look like a nice player, but like in this game, I mean, my God, he could see like 2 targets for like 1 catch and 20 yards. Just because Case Keenum is throwing it 8 yards every throw or 6 yards and handing off. So even Sutton, who, has a better quarterback, but could just be sucked out of it from game flow. This could be like one of those Saints games where each team throws like 25 times and, the leading receiver is like 50 yards. It does feel a little bit like that. So the receivers really become boom or bust targets. The running backs and the quarterbacks go up, and then the special teams value goes up too, because again, we're looking for guaranteed points. So the kickers have some value in a game like this even.
This does kind of feel like it's going to be one of those throwback to the classic midweek battles between 2 challenged offenses on Thursday night, because like towards the end of last year and definitely this year, there's been some entertaining games and some like good teams involved. It's just bad timing for these two to be playing on Thursday night football. The total is moving in the wrong direction. So at one point this morning, Reid, it was 41.5. They took it off the board, I think, with the news of Baker. It came back 41.5. That was there for like 2 hours ago. And now it's already down to 41. How confident would you be sticking with the over, Fowler?
Not really. I mean, and the thing is too, right, is you talked about the offensive linemen, Treader and Wills are most likely going to be out. We have to wait and see what the reports are going to say. OBJ is banged up. Jarvis, I believe he's designated to return, Geoff. I haven't seen any reports on him being active to play in this game. So you might be out, or, OBJ might be 50%. Landry might not play. So that leaves Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then the tight ends, right? Njoku and Hooper, and then those running backs that we talked about. Having said that, I don't think that Case Keenum is a far cry from Baker's performance this year in the pass game.
I remember you saying that this morning on the Sweat.
Yeah, I really don't think it is. And look, Keenum is a guy that we've seen play in an offense that can move the ball down the field. Granted, it looks very different where he was, and he had a guy like Steph Diggs, right, Dalvin Cook. There are some other players for Case Keenum that he's just going to be void of in this game. So when you're looking at this number, while 41 is very low for an NFL team, I'd be staying away from this and maybe try and go like first half, right? Like a first half over or first half team total. That's something that I'd be taking a look at as opposed to the entire game. Just because, like, if you take a look at, like over 20.5 in the first, like the under 20.5 kind of appeals to me in like the first half, that this is just going to be run, get an eventual pass, run, and then kind of figure out how the game's going by halftime. And whatever team is leading, they're just going to run the ball even more, right? Like that's how this game feels like right now. So for me, I'm looking at something like that. And then even like, Cleveland -1 at home, in the first half, that's something that intrigues me more than the entire game total and the game spread, just because this one is so many, it's just a war of attrition right now. Who's going to hobble out their best players at less than like 100%, maybe even less than 50%. So I'm trying to study from the whole game, maybe attack from the halves.
Hey, Geoff Ulrich, Mr. Over, you sticking to your guns?
No, man, this is no
coward.
I mean, maybe it is a little cowardly, and maybe this one, because like Reid mentioned, there are injuries at other positions. Maybe this one just gets a little weird, but like I don't think so. Denver is a team that, they've got a really defensive mind coach, and Vic Fangio doesn't necessarily take a ton of risks. Stefanski, I don't know, man. I can't see him not calling like a kind of straight up game. The Cleveland defense hasn't been good lately, but I don't know. It still doesn't really interest me. From trends, Denver going back to last year, losing record to the over, 2-4 hitting overs this year. Cleveland is 4-2 hitting the overs, but that's, they've been involved in a couple weird games too. So I don't know. There's not enough here to really think. I'm actually surprised it's still over 40, to be honest. I thought when it got taken off the board, we might see it at like 39 or 39.5. So I think at 41, the under's still a really good bet.
Okay, so then who covers, do you think, tomorrow night? Because the Browns opened up around 6 point. They're down to 5. The quarterback news down to 2. It's like, what, can you go in either direction here? You got to throw trends out the window at this point with all these injuries, right?
This is probably my strongest take of this whole game. I mean, I do like Denver here. I'm not sure why Denver necessarily is like that big, like really an underdog. I mean, you've got a backup quarterback and you've got both top running backs out. I mean, we're talking about the entire offense for Cleveland. And then also you've got the defensive issues. Like, they have not been good there. So I get that.
Especially the last 2 weeks, you're right.
Yeah. And I get that, like, Denver is dealing with stuff too. I mean, Bridgewater banged up, although, I mean, I feel like he's going to play, but they also have like a more of like a 1 and 1A situation with Drew Lock. I have a little bit more confidence there. I just think Denver right now with all the injuries that's taking place. I just don't trust Cleveland to turn it around here. Like, this feels like Cleveland season starting to spiral out of control. And I don't know how this is going to stop spiraling this week, right? Like, Case Keenum going to step in and have like a throwback game? That could happen. But I think the more likely scenario is the Denver defense takes control of this game, maybe even gets like a sacked fumble or something. Bridgewater plays, or Drew Lock just steps in and they ride the running backs. I think Denver's a really good bet at +2.
Fowler, why can the Broncos cover? How can they cover?
How can the Broncos cover, or how can the Browns cover?
Yeah, Broncos or Browns. I mean, just tell me which side you're sitting on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go on the other side just for being the devil's advocate, because I do agree with Geoff. I think Denver's a better team right now because they just have healthier bodies. The one thing that scares me, though, is this Cleveland defensive line, still healthy, very aggressive. They can get to Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. The offensive line for Denver, like the D-line pressure rate versus the offensive line pass or run block, is a complete advantage to the Cleveland side. And you could see another Chicago-esque type of game where Myles Garrett and those boys just get after this quarterback. Because of what Geoff was mentioning, that's kind of the only way that Cleveland can probably stay competitive, right? Is blitz the you-know-what out of Denver, put them in bad situations. And we know if it's either quarterback, Teddy's probably not going to pass it. He's probably going to get sacked 3 or 4 times. He's not going to YOLO ball it. Drew Lock will, and that will incur some turnover. So Cleveland can cover that way in like a 17-7 win. Some weird stuff like that, just because that defensive line is still pretty good and still fairly healthy.
Hey, for what it's worth, Denver 11th and 3 ATS in its last Thursday night games. Wow. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I'm glad I know that now. Fowler, which spread are you most confident in on taking on Sunday? Because we have less than 14 minutes to go in the show. Again, shout out to the Madden Sim at 4:00 for going to overtime.
Yeah. How about this 17.5? No, I'm not going to do that. 17.5. We're looking at NCAA lines.
That's tough.
Here.
That is going to be really tough. No, to cover that. We had a fat one earlier this season. You had a really good stat. It's like teams that are usually that favorite. I think that was the Bills game, right? I think they won 40-0.
Yeah, and usually the dogs cover this huge line because it's the backdoor cover. I got a couple. I think there's a tease available potentially. This New England game has gone up from 6.5 to 7. I like teasing them down to 0.5 point and including either the Giants guys and teasing them up to 9 points, getting 9 on Carolina, or Baltimore teasing them down to 0.5 point. That line has fluctuated between 6.5 and 7 as well. I think when you take a look at both of those teams in Baltimore and New England, I think the lines haven't adjusted yet to how good these teams actually are. and I know Cincinnati's getting a lot of buzz, right? Their run defense is strong, but Baltimore right now, with what Lamar Jackson is doing and how well he's passing, I can see them definitely. I can see this game being close because it's a division game, but I do give it to Baltimore, even though their running back situation is as bad as Cleveland's without, right, a ton of injuries, right? We have no idea what's happening there. So that's one. If I'm taking a single game, I actually like the Raiders. The Raiders at -3 against the Eagles. The Eagles don't do a lot of man coverage, and Derek Carr is really good against zone coverage. Like, he's really good against zone coverage, man coverage. So no, I was right. Zone coverage. Big time throws are there for him. Henry Ruggs is playing out of his mind. I do think that's a game that potentially we see a shootout in Las Vegas. So that one, I like laying the 3 points at the Raiders.
Yeah, maybe the Raiders continue to play liberated, inspiring ball without John Gruden there. Geoff, is there almost like a lock in your eyes, one that you think is just a sure thing? You feel so good about it.
There's a few that I feel pretty good about. Maybe not like so good that I'm going to refer to it as lock, but there are some games that are looking extremely, extremely tempting to me, and I will definitely be betting them this week. The first is going to be the Bengals, +6.5. Love to see this line jump up to 7. I get getting on the Lamar hype train, but the AFC teams, like, again, I'm of the opinion that there's a lot of parity in the AFC, especially. I think that the top tier teams in the NFC, they're a little bit more set apart. The AFC, you got about 5 or 6 teams, and whenever one of them spikes, you always get like a reaction where the line's just a little bit too big the next week. And I think this is what we're getting with Baltimore. Cincinnati's got a really solid defense. They've got solid quarterback play. They're running the ball well. I think they can definitely keep this game close within a touchdown. 6.5 I'll take. Obviously, we want to try and get it to 7, but I think that line is too big. And then the other one, I'm really surprised the Packers line is coming down. Like it was I think it opened at 10 or 10.5, and it's down to 8.
Yeah, it was a double-digit spread. So I remember Steve tweeted that out Sunday night, that there were 4 games double-digit spreads at the time. This was one of them.
What have I missed here? Is Aaron Rodgers not quarterback? Is Devontae Adams out for the season? No. This Washington team is terrible on defense. Devontae Adams is going to carve this team like a turkey in the secondary. Aaron Jones is operating like an efficient, like Green Bay is playing they're very, very balanced. Yes, they're playing a little slow, get a little, lackadaisical, sometimes shutting out teams. I'm not worried about Washington. I'm really not worried about, Taylor Heineke here. The Packers, I think, at -8 are a really good bet. And again, I'm really surprised this line has come down this much. I love it at -8. I liked it at like 9.5. So I love it at 8.
Hey, can someone tell me about the Rams and Lions here? Because it just feels like Stafford's revenge game. We know the Rams are relentless in smashing bad teams, right? They're going to be at home. We saw that against the Giants. And not to mention, I feel like Aaron Donald is going to do everything in his power to destroy Jared Goff to get his revenge on them not being able to win a Super Bowl. Reid.
Yeah. I mean,
like, this is a bloodbath, dude. Like, the Lions are the sacrificial lambs here.
Yeah. I think it's like, I think Stafford, like, we're not talking about Stafford's revenge game either, right? Like, what the Lions did to him. They didn't give him any offensive linemen. They let go of Calvin Johnson way too early. He went out. Come on.
It's a good point by Reid. Like, why is everyone talking about Goff's revenge game? This is Stafford's revenge game.
Stafford is going to light these guys up like a Christmas tree. Yep. Carve them up like a pumpkin that you put in your steak. No, I do like I do like Goff from a DFS standpoint as a contrarian. Get a cheap option in there at QB. He's going to be passing it a ton. Get other high price guys in there. But yeah, I cannot see this going anywhere close to this. Detroit's I think they're 3-3 ATS, right? They can backdoor cover this. They're a backdoor cover team. You've seen DeAndre Swift score touchdowns at the end of games. These guys don't quit. And number 32 doesn't quit in that backfield. And so you could definitely see that 14.5, right? That's why with these type of games, these double-digit games, that backdoor cover is, it's an SOB because you feel like you got it in the bag, and all of a sudden the team doesn't care, And right, the defense doesn't care if they win by 10 or if they win by 17, but we do. So I'm probably going to stay away from this. But yeah, this is going to be a Stafford revenge game because Detroit did not do any favors. Almost ended his career.
Blood. That night, the rivers, these sewers will run red with Goff's blood.
Is that a Power Rangers?
Don't do that.
Quote?
What? No, dude. But I do like the Power Rangers. There's like a one they released recently, right? That's super dark and like goth. Anywho, hey, CJ, real quick. CJ's asking, who do you he clearly missed the earlier part of the show. Actually, I don't even know if we hit on it. Captain, really quick, guys, for tomorrow night, for Thursday Night Football. Go ahead, Geoff.
Oh boy. I think Teddy Bridgewater is assuming he starts, obviously the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, I think is in a good spot. Cleveland not playing that great. I think there's going to be the Denver defense is going to give them a little bit more opportunities. And I don't want to pick between Gordon and Javonte Williams because the time split is just so even. So I think the quarterback for Denver has a chance to be the highest score. I just don't. The receivers, like I said, they're just so boom or bust. I don't even know. So,
Fowler, what do you like, dude? Who do you like tomorrow night, the captain?
I mean, I don't mind Case Keenum because he's going to have to pass at some point. If what Geoff is saying, the narrative is there that Denver's going to be up, that he's going to have to pass. So putting him at 94. Excuse me. Let me see what his at 14-1 in the captain spot, which sounds weird because he doesn't have a start under his belt. I get that. And the contrarian play is Sutton. I think Sutton in the captain spot, even though he's at 15K, it's a low total. And so you're going a little bit contrarian against the field. You're going to see a lot of Dearness. You're going to see a lot of Javonte and Gordon in there. You're going to see a defensive, maybe a DST too, Geoff, right? Like a Cleveland DST in the captain spot. What if they absolutely go ham? Or vice versa, right? You get a ton of, like 8 sacks, 5 sacks on either quarterback and a few turnovers. We'll see, but I'd rather go on the offensive side. Give me Case or Courtland Sutton.
Bro, we got less than 5 minutes to go in the show. I think for the Sunday slate, there'll be a lot of chatter about that tomorrow and Friday, right, on the slate, because the golf tournament here on the PGA Tour tees off in just over an hour and a half. So yeah, that's great. Open up the sports book here, Reid. Whose odds do you like this week? They're over in Japan, everyone, for the Zozo Championship. Again, we're running tight on time because the game started. The game ran late. So go ahead, Fowler.
Yeah, Ricky Fowler there at 25. I think he keeps that going. Not worried about the jet lag, even though it's real. Mav McNeely at 35. Geoff, this guy's been close 2 runner-up finishes last season. This is the type of tournament that he could win. Ball striking is there, and he's a putter to get hot. And I talked about Keegan Bradley. He's at 35. I'd probably lean Mav in the outright over Keegan because Keegan never wins. But I still like him on DFS. I still like at 35. He was at 40 earlier in the week. And then I think there was one other guy that I wanted. I know, like I mentioned, Brendan Grace in my article, but there's guys down here, I think like Henrik Norlander, Luke List, this range right here. I know, Geoff, you mentioned Harry Higgs the other day off camera when we were talking about it. There's some guys I think in the 60 to 80 range that are actually going to pop. And probably my favorite right now is Henrik Norlander, followed by Luke List.
Okay. Geoff, what's your best bet?
So my bet, and actually like one of the only bets I made this week, because I really just, this tournament it's giving me heartburn already, is Harry Higgs. I think Harry Higgs is been around. This dude finished top 5 in the PGA Championship. He was runner up in an event last fall. Like when he gets a sniff, he will get it done. He's really a good putter, and his approach game took a really big uptick last week. So I think at plus 6,500, I think the names threw out are fine. I think McNeely is probably like my favorite of that group that he threw out. But I look at Higgs and I look at McNeely. I don't think they're very dissimilar players, and you're getting Higgs at like double the odds. So really like those odds. That's like my main outright bet because, again, I just don't feel like dipping into the favorites here. I hope Ricky Fowler gets the win. That'd be awesome. I just don't think I can pull the trigger at plus 2,500. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of this field. I just don't really want to pull the trigger on too many guys. So Higgs, by far, my favorite bet. But this is going to be an interesting tournament. It's probably going to come down to, a couple dudes who you're just like, wow, when was the last time this guy played well? Gets hot with the putter. I will say this. I got a weird feeling about Alex Noren this week. Again, 20 plus 2,800. I don't really want to bet him. I might do it tonight anyways, just because that's who I am.
Yeah, he was like he was at like 75 or 80 last week.
Yeah, and he was terrible last week.
He was terrible.
But he is the best putter on bent grass greens. He's probably the best putter in this field. And we've seen Noren like knock on the door. Like he was runner up. I think it was Minnesota or something earlier this year. I don't think it was Minnesota. It was like Detroit or something. He can, when he gets hot, he gets hot. So I think Alex Noren is a really interesting kind of just veteran, kind of like when Tiger just came in here and he's like, hey, I'm just going to light it up on the greens for 4 days and grab a win. I could see Noren doing something similar.
Yeah, when you look at the field, obviously not as strong as last week at the CJ Cup. These guys deciding not to go to Japan. He does have one of the stronger short games in this, weaker field. About a minute and a half or so to go. Enough for you to roster him though over in DFS, Geoff. You like him that much? Let's see. He's 9.7 there.
I do, because again, we do have a shortened field, and when you're thinking about DFS this week, people are using Morikawa and Schauffele, but they're also using the trustful names, and by trustful I mean just the young players who we know are good. Neiman, going down. Tringali's been really good consistently. Mike Neely, but Alex Noren at I think he's 9,700, right?
Yeah.
That's just people I'm not paying 9,700 for Alex Noren. So in a small field, you get a guy who's a really elite putter. If he shows up, it's the perfect GPP spot for him. So I actually really like him a lot from those perspectives. If you're making those big lineups, he's got a lot of potential upside, perhaps even more than some of the people around him, you could argue, but he's going to be low owned, which is hard to find in these no cut events.
Reid, very quickly, please.
Yeah, KH Lee, $8,700. He's got good experience on this course in this part of the country. He's a former winner on the PGA Tour last year. I think you see him pop at this tournament. KH Lee, 8,700.
All right, both of you guys have a couple articles floating around out there, right, for some plays here in DFS. So if they go to your Twitter pages, find it, because again, lineups locked since it's in Japan in an hour, 33 minutes and 49 seconds, 48 seconds, 47 seconds. We got to go.
45.
Hopefully next week we have a longer show, because it really makes Reid angry when we have a shorter show. Love you guys. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya.